Have you ever wondered why some parents seem to grow old surrounded by love and family, while others feel isolated and abandoned by the very children they raised? It's a heartbreaking reality that many elderly parents face as their children grow up and move on with their lives. But what if there were simple, yet powerful ways to ensure that your relationship with your children remains strong, respectful, and full of love, even as you age? In this video, we'll uncover the secrets to building and maintaining a meaningful, lasting connection with your children as you grow older. We'll explore the common mistakes that many parents unknowingly make, like expecting too much from their kids, becoming emotionally dependent on them, or playing favorites among siblings. We'll also share practical tips and real-life stories about how you can avoid these pitfalls, stay independent, and create a relationship based on mutual respect and understanding. If you're looking to avoid feeling lonely in your later years, to make sure you're not a burden to your children, and to nurture relationships that bring joy and fulfillment, you won't want to miss this. Stay with us until the end, because we'll reveal the key to building strong family bonds that can last for generations, and how to enjoy your independence while doing it. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. Episode 1. The Happy Parent-Child Relationship. In the Tanaka family, the summer tradition of visiting their cherished family hot springs has evolved into something far beyond a mere vacation. It's become a living testament to the love and memories that have been passed down from generation to generation. Year after year, despite the overwhelming demands of their professional lives and the inevitable distractions of modern society, the Tanaka children make a conscious decision to set aside time for this sacred family ritual. They understand that this trip, though seemingly simple, is woven into the very fabric of their family history. It is a way for them to reconnect with the past, honor their parents' sacrifices, and express the profound gratitude they feel for the love and care they received as children. The parents, now older, have become more reflective with time. Their hearts are full of pride and joy as they watch their children, once so small and dependent, now take on the responsibility of ensuring that this family tradition endures. Even when the children are stretched thin with work, families, and their own obligations, they find a way to come together and meticulously plan every detail of the trip. It is never a question of whether they will make the time, but rather a deep, unwavering certainty that this tradition is a priority, a reminder of the enduring strength of family bonds. When the family finally gathers at the hot springs, the atmosphere is one of quiet joy, a shared sense of peace that only time and familiarity can bring. The Tanakas immerse themselves in the warm, soothing waters, and in the gentle stillness of the mountains surrounding them, they rediscover the quiet intimacy that exists between them. The hum of the world outside fades, and for those precious moments, it is as though time stands still. They can feel their connection to each other deepening, as if the years of laughter, the tears, the arguments, and the reconciliations have all led to this moment of serene unity. As the trip draws to a close, the Tanakas sit together, basking in the quiet comfort of shared memories. Their hearts are full of emotion, and the weight of the years seems to settle lightly upon them. It is during one of these moments that the parents, moved by the deep affection they feel, express their heartfelt gratitude to their children. Their words are simple, yet drenched in the warmth of a lifetime of love and sacrifice. They thank their children for making the time to be there, for honoring this sacred tradition, and for keeping the family's legacy alive. Their daughter, who has always been the most perceptive of the siblings, looks at them with a smile that is soft and knowing, filled with both gratitude and love. Her eyes glisten with quiet emotion as she responds, "You made so many beautiful memories for me when I was a child. You gave me a sense of safety, joy, and love that shaped who I am today. Now, it's our turn. It's our turn to take care of you, to show you that same love and care, just as you did for us. We do this for you because we want you to know, with every action, how much we cherish everything you've done for us." In that moment, the Tanakas are flooded with a deep, overwhelming sense of fulfillment. They realize, with a clarity that only comes with age, that the love they poured into their children over the years has now been returned. Not out of obligation, but out of genuine affection, deep respect, and a recognition of the invaluable bond that exists between them. The circle of love has come full circle, and they can feel it in the very air around them. This profound, irreplaceable connection that binds their family together. It's a humbling realization that fills their hearts with peace. The love they once freely gave, without expectation, has blossomed into something even more beautiful. It is no longer just a parent's love for a child, but a shared, equal love, one that has matured, deepened, and flourished over the years. They no longer see themselves simply as caregivers but as cherished members of a family whose legacy is built not on grand gestures, but on the quiet, everyday acts of love and kindness that flow naturally between them. The Tanakas sit in the tranquil evening, their hearts full and content, knowing that their love has been passed on, nurtured, and protected. It is in these moments that they truly understand that family is not just about the ties that bind, but the deep, enduring respect and care that flow between generations. They've come to understand that it is not the years, but the love that fills them, that makes the bond between parent and child unbreakable. This trip, this shared time together, is not just a vacation. It is a profound reminder that the true treasures of life are the memories we create and the love we give and receive. As the night settles over the hot spring resort, the Tanakas are filled with a quiet sense of peace. They have come to realize, through their own journey and the journey of their children, that love has a way of coming full circle. And in that circle, they have found not just a family, but a beautiful unspoken promise, that no matter where life takes them, no matter how much time passes, they will always return to each other. Episode 2. A lonely parent feeling abandoned. On the other hand, we find Sato-san, a 70-year-old man, whose life is now marked by the silence of his empty home. Once filled with the laughter and chaos of children growing up, his house now echoes with the quiet hum of solitude. His children, all grown up with families of their own, have become distant, emotionally and physically. Each one has drifted away, swept up in the demands and responsibilities of their own lives. Sato-san's role as a parent, once so central and all-encompassing, now feels like a fading memory, one that he clings to desperately even as time pushes him further into isolation. One day, Sato-san fell ill. It wasn't a minor cold. It was serious. He felt weak and vulnerable, his body betraying him in a way that left him questioning his own strength. In his time of need, he reached out to his children, hoping that even one of them would take a moment from their busy lives to offer comfort, to check on him, to express even the faintest sign of concern. He dialed their numbers and left messages, but the ringing phone and the silence that followed were all he received in return. The minutes turned into hours, and with every unanswered call, his sense of abandonment deepened. As he lay there, feverish and alone, a painful thought pierced his heart, tearing at the fabric of his soul. After everything I've done for them, after all the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, the years I spent working myself to the bone, giving them everything I had, why does it feel like I'm invisible to them now? After all the love I poured into them, why doesn't anyone even care enough to check on me? His thoughts spiraled as he realized how profound the gap had become between him and the children he had raised with such devotion. The love he had showered on them, the countless hours spent nurturing, guiding, and supporting them, had somehow not been enough to keep their bond intact. His heart, once full of pride and joy at their growth, now felt empty and neglected, the tender strings of affection between them severed, leaving him adrift in a sea of loneliness. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. This heartbreaking situation reveals a truth that many parents, especially as they age, find themselves facing. No matter how much love and care you give, there is no guarantee that your children will return it in kind. There are parents, like Sato-san, who spend their entire lives pouring out their love, their time, and their energy, only to find that in their later years, they are left with nothing but silence and a gnawing sense of neglect. The very children who were once their world now seem like distant strangers. It's a cruel paradox. A parent's unconditional love met with the chilling indifference of the very ones they sacrificed so much for. This painful reality forces us to reflect on the delicate balance required to maintain a healthy relationship with our children, particularly as we age. What is it that keeps a parent-child bond strong over time? How do we ensure that, as we grow older, we don't become a forgotten relic in our children's lives? How can we safeguard our emotional well-being and avoid becoming a burden while still fostering love and connection? The truth is, as we age, it's not just about avoiding becoming a burden. It's about finding ways to stay relevant, cherished, and emotionally supported in a world that often pulls families apart. So, what can we do to ensure we don't face the same heartbreak that Sato-san did? How do we build relationships with our children that are founded on mutual respect, care, and understanding, instead of the cold indifference that so many elderly parents are forced to endure? Today, we'll explore the delicate, yet essential strategies for maintaining deep, fulfilling connections with our children as we age. We will talk about ways to cultivate respect, avoid feelings of neglect, and ultimately ensure that we are not forgotten in our later years. Let's dive into this crucial conversation and explore the emotional truths that often remain unspoken in the aging process. Let's begin this journey together. 1. Don't force children to pay back. The dangerous belief that children owe their parents for the sacrifices made during their upbringing is a devastating misconception that can poison the most sacred of relationships. Take, for example, the poignant story of Yamaguchi-san, a mother who devoted her entire life to the well-being and future of her only son. For years, she worked tirelessly, sacrificing her own needs, desires, and even moments of joy, all to ensure that he had every opportunity to succeed. She worked late into the night, barely sleeping, while pouring every ounce of her energy into creating the best possible future for him. With unwavering determination, she put aside her dreams and personal aspirations, believing that her sacrifices would someday lead to her son having a life beyond what she could ever imagine for herself. The reward she sought was simple: to see him flourish and become someone who could stand tall and proud in the world. When her son was accepted into a prestigious university, Yamaguchi-san felt a deep sense of fulfillment, a mother's pride in knowing her sacrifices had paid off. But when he graduated and moved out, began a family of his own, and slowly built his life, something shifted in her. The love she had once given so freely became intertwined with expectations, turning into a silent debt she felt was owed to her. In the absence of daily interactions and the emotional closeness they once shared, Yamaguchi-san found herself calling her son often, with each conversation gradually shifting from genuine concern to an undercurrent of resentment. Her words, once filled with encouragement, became filled with subtle demands, her voice tinged with a quiet accusation that he had forgotten all she had done for him. "You owe me," her calls seemed to whisper. "I gave you everything, and now it's your turn to give back." But her son, deeply overwhelmed by the pressure and guilt that began to suffocate him, began to retreat. His heart, once open and full of gratitude, began to close. The closeness they once shared now felt like a burden, and instead of calling more, he called less. Instead of seeking his mother's advice, he began to avoid the calls altogether. The more Yamaguchi-san tried to pull him in, the further away he drifted, caught in the grip of a relationship that had begun to feel transactional rather than deeply loving. This heartbreaking story of a mother's miscalculation is a painful illustration of the dangers inherent in treating the parent-child bond as a business transaction, where love, care, and sacrifice are expected to be repaid, as though the years of effort can be balanced like a ledger. The act of raising a child should never be seen as an investment. When we reduce the sacred, selfless act of parenting to the expectation of a return, we lose something infinitely precious. Yamaguchi-san, despite her profound sacrifices, failed to recognize that her son's love and gratitude should never be viewed as payment, nor as something she could demand. If only she had continued to offer the same unconditional love she had in his childhood, with no strings attached, perhaps her son would have felt the space to grow and express his love freely, without the weight of obligation. Many parents, especially those who may have struggled to provide emotional support during their children's formative years, often develop expectations later in life. As they enter old age, they may feel entitled to the very things they never received: love, attention, and gratitude. They may look back on their sacrifices and feel resentful that their children have moved on, that they are no longer needed in the same way. These feelings can fester, creating an emotional chasm between parent and child. Yet, it's essential to understand that parents who have given genuine emotional support, whose love has been steady and constant, do not expect repayment. They understand that love is not a transaction, but a gift, one that should be given freely, without the weight of future obligation. They find peace in seeing their children live fulfilling, healthy lives, in knowing that they have contributed to their happiness, not as an investment, but as a selfless act of love. The misguided notion that "I raised you, so you owe me" is not only selfish, it's harmful. Children are not commodities to be bargained with, and the parent-child relationship should never be seen as a contractual agreement. Love, in its truest form, is unconditional, not something that can be demanded or manipulated. True fulfillment in parenting comes not from the hope of future repayment, but from the knowledge that your child's life is their own to live, and that the love and care you gave them will carry forward in ways you may never fully see or understand. In the end, the most enduring and fulfilling relationships between parents and children are those that are built on mutual trust, respect, and a shared understanding that love, in its purest form, does not demand a return. It simply exists to nurture, support, and offer a safe space for each person to grow, free from the constraints of expectation. Only then can the true beauty of the parent-child relationship be realized, in all its complexity and depth. 2. Don't discriminate between children. The love between a parent and child is meant to be an unbreakable, sacred bond, an unwavering thread that ties them together through the storms of life. Yet, this bond can easily be torn apart by something as simple, yet as destructive, as favoritism. When a parent shows unequal affection toward their children, it doesn't just create tension, it sinks deep into the hearts of those affected, leaving scars that can last a lifetime. This kind of emotional imbalance is not only damaging, it is soul-crushing. It can turn what should be a haven of love and support into a battleground of unspoken resentment, confusion, and pain. In Maratha's family, the consequences of such discrimination were evident. The father, perhaps unknowingly, poured all his resources into his eldest son, paying for tuition, funding a lavish wedding, and showering him with gifts, while his younger son received nothing but the cold, harsh sting of neglect. This wasn't just a matter of financial imbalance. It was an emotional betrayal that shook the very foundation of their family. The younger son, feeling unloved and unimportant, grew increasingly distant, retreating into himself as a way to protect his heart from further hurt. The eldest son, on the other hand, found himself drowning under the weight of his father's expectations, unable to escape the pressure that came with being the favored child. Rather than feeling grateful for the love and support bestowed upon him, he became resentful of the burden it placed on him, pushing him away from his parents in a desperate attempt to breathe freely again. Favoritism doesn't just fracture relationships. It creates a cycle of emotional damage that spirals out of control. Even if a parent believes they are expressing love equally, the truth is that children feel with their hearts, not their minds. And when children don't feel valued or cherished the same way as their siblings, the damage is already done. It isn't about the material things, the tuition or the wedding expenses. It's about the emotional currency that is exchanged between parents and children, and when that currency isn't equally distributed, the cost is far greater than anyone can imagine. The heartache that results from such imbalance is quiet but deep, leaving children with a sense of inadequacy and longing that lingers into adulthood. The emotional wounds caused by favoritism can be devastating. In Maratha's case, the growing distance between the younger son and his parents eventually led to a painful estrangement, one that could have been avoided with a simple act of fairness. The eldest son, weighed down by his father's overbearing affection, found himself withdrawing not out of lack of love, but out of an overwhelming need for freedom from unrealistic expectations. The family, once bound together by love and shared history, now stood on the edge of an emotional precipice, with trust and affection slipping away like sand through fingers. As the years passed, the rift only deepened, and the family, once so close, found themselves disconnected, each member silently suffering from the invisible wounds of inequality. The consequences of such emotional discrimination extend far beyond childhood. They can follow children into adulthood, influencing how they perceive themselves, their worth, and their relationship with their parents. And as those children grow older, the emotional scars often come to the surface in painful and unexpected ways. It can manifest in anger, in deep feelings of inadequacy, or in a sense of rejection that never fully heals. In some cases, it can even lead to estrangement, when the weight of old wounds becomes too heavy to carry, and children, now adults, walk away from a family that never truly made them feel seen or loved. But the harm doesn't stop with the individual. When parents show favoritism, the entire family dynamic shifts, creating an environment ripe for conflict. Siblings, once close, become rivals, each vying for the affection they never fully received. The parents, though perhaps well-meaning, inadvertently set their children up to clash with each other, creating rifts that can last for decades. The very foundation of family, built on trust and love, crumbles under the pressure of inequality. And when the parents grow older, these divisions only intensify. The risk of isolation in their later years becomes painfully real, as children, who should be their support and comfort, are now estranged and distant, carrying with them the emotional baggage of years of perceived unfairness. The legacy of favoritism is not just one of emotional pain, it is a legacy of division, isolation, and heartache. But it is also a legacy that can be changed. It is never too late for parents to correct course, to open their hearts and extend their love equally to each of their children. Every child, no matter their age or position in the family, deserves to feel loved and valued. The emotional needs of children are not bound by age. They are lifelong. And the first step in healing the wounds caused by favoritism is to acknowledge the damage, to take responsibility, and to commit to showing love and respect equally. Fairness is not just about material things. It is about emotional equity, about giving each child the same attention, the same affection, and the same sense of worth. It's about showing that, no matter what, each child is unique and valuable in their own right. When parents make the effort to show love equally, to give each child the emotional nourishment they need to feel whole, the family becomes a place of support and connection once more. Trust is rebuilt, and the rifts of the past begin to heal. Parents must understand that the bond they share with each of their children is fragile. It can be strengthened or weakened by the choices they make. To build strong, lasting relationships with their children, they must commit to fairness, to showing love not out of obligation, but out of deep, genuine care. And as the years go by, this fairness will be the bedrock on which families can stand, united and unbreakable, through all the trials of life. 3. Don't dump your emotions on your children. The essence of a strong, loving family bond lies in the foundation of fair and unconditional affection. This love should not be measured by material wealth or by grand gestures. It should be rooted in emotional presence, understanding, and an unwavering commitment to ensuring that each child feels equally valued. In the case of Murata's family, however, a tragic imbalance in affection took root. The father, blinded by his own biases and expectations, directed all his resources, his time, his attention, and his financial support towards his eldest son. He paid for his tuition, helped with his wedding expenses, and continuously provided the kind of assistance that only the most privileged could expect. Meanwhile, his younger son, yearning for the same attention, the same support, was met with little more than the occasional, perfunctory gesture. His needs, his dreams, and his silent cries for recognition were ignored, leaving him feeling invisible in the very home where he should have felt most loved. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. This deep sense of neglect and favoritism caused an irreparable fracture within the family. The younger son, carrying the emotional weight of being overlooked and undervalued, began to emotionally withdraw from his parents. He created a distance, not out of choice, but out of a need to protect himself from further hurt. The walls between them grew higher, until the connection they once shared was nothing more than a hollow echo of what it could have been. The eldest son, though showered with material support, was not without his own struggles. Overwhelmed by the weight of constant expectations, he felt trapped. His father's love felt less like a blessing and more like a burden, a relentless pressure to meet unattainable standards, a constant reminder of his inability to ever live up to his father's lofty dreams for him. He too began to pull away, suffocating under the weight of a love that demanded too much and asked too little in return. Discrimination in the family, whether it's in the form of unequal attention, resources, or emotional support, does more than create temporary discord. It sows deep, painful wounds that last far beyond the moments of hurt. Even if a parent believes, in their heart of hearts, that they are showing equal love to all their children, the reality is that love isn't about perception. It's about how it is felt. If one child senses that they are loved less, or if they feel that they are always in the shadow of their sibling, that perception becomes their painful reality. And no amount of verbal reassurance can undo the damage that this emotional neglect causes. Parents must understand that love is not a finite resource. It doesn't have to be divided or parceled out like material wealth. Love multiplies when shared equally, and when each child feels that they are truly seen, valued, and cherished. Every child, no matter their age or achievements, craves the reassurance that they are worthy of their parents' love, and they need to feel that their parents' affection isn't conditional or dependent on arbitrary standards. It's not about the money or the material gifts. It's about the intangible yet vital elements of emotional connection. Quality time, open communication, validation, and the unwavering belief in their worth. The consequences of failing to provide this emotional equity can be catastrophic, particularly as children grow older and begin to build their own lives. If parents choose to favor one child over others, it creates a rift that becomes almost impossible to bridge. The child who feels neglected will harbor resentment, not just toward their parents but also toward the favored sibling, who becomes a symbol of inequality. What might begin as a small seed of frustration can grow into a massive divide, one that festers over time, corroding the relationship between siblings and between parents and children. Family gatherings, once a source of comfort and warmth, may become tense, filled with unspoken bitterness and regret. The rift between siblings widens, creating deep scars that may never fully heal. As parents age, the consequences of their favoritism become even more pronounced. In their later years, when they need the emotional support of their children the most, The absence of those who once felt neglected becomes a profound source of loneliness. The child who is left behind, emotionally starved for years, may choose to distance themselves further, unwilling to risk further emotional harm. The favored child, having borne the weight of excessive expectations throughout their life, may also pull away, feeling unable to fulfill the emotional needs of their aging parents. In this way, the very parents who once thought they could rely on their children for comfort in old age find themselves isolated, abandoned by the very family they worked so hard to build. Discrimination in a family does not only affect the immediate relationships between parent and child, it reverberates through generations, carrying with it the risk of perpetuating the same cycle of emotional neglect. Siblings, who were once close, may find themselves estranged, unable to reconcile the injustices they felt in their youth. They may carry those wounds into their own families, perhaps even unconsciously repeating the patterns of favoritism they once endured. The ripple effect of such emotional harm is not easily contained. It creates a toxic legacy that can haunt future generations, leaving behind a trail of unresolved resentment, bitterness, and fractured familial bonds. The antidote to this cycle is simple, yet profoundly powerful: fairness, empathy, and unwavering love. Parents must make a conscious effort to treat each child with equal care, attention, and support, not just in terms of material resources, but in the emotional investment they make. Every child should feel that they are seen and heard, that their individual needs and feelings are as important as their siblings. It's about fostering a sense of equality within the family, a balance that prevents anyone from feeling neglected, unwanted, or overlooked. This isn't just about preventing conflict or avoiding isolation in old age. It's about building relationships that are founded on trust, respect, and deep emotional connection. If parents truly wish to maintain the unity of their family, they must begin by recognizing the inherent value of each of their children. They must strive to show their love equally and demonstrate, through their actions and their words, that no one is more deserving than another. This approach is not always easy. It requires self-awareness, patience, and an openness to vulnerability, but the rewards are immeasurable. The first, most crucial step in healing any rift and building trust is to treat each child with the same deep affection and respect, ensuring that no one feels like they are less than the other. Only then can families avoid the heartbreaking consequences of emotional neglect, and instead, create bonds that will stand strong through the tests of time. This is the foundation upon which lifelong, fulfilling relationships can be built, and it is the gift that will keep on giving for generations to come. 4. Don't solve all your children's problems. As parents, the urge to protect our children from pain, failure, and disappointment is almost overwhelming. We want to shield them from the world's harshness, to offer them a sense of security, comfort, and the belief that we can always fix things when they go wrong. But in doing so, we may be unintentionally preventing them from developing the very qualities that will enable them to thrive in life: resilience, independence, and emotional strength. Sometimes, in our desire to keep them safe, we end up robbing them of the most precious gift we can give them: the ability to handle life's challenges on their own. Take, for instance, the story of Kato-san and her teenage daughter. One afternoon, the young girl came home, her face clouded with sorrow, her shoulders slumped as if carrying the weight of the world. She had been scolded harshly by her boss at her part-time job. The words stung, and the harshness of the reprimand left her feeling small and worthless. She was crushed. But in her mother's eyes, the instinct was clear: her daughter needed protection, and she needed it now. Without thinking twice, Kato-san called her daughter's workplace, spoke to the boss, and forcefully argued that her daughter had done nothing wrong. She defended her child with all the fierce love a mother could muster, trying to erase the injustice, to make everything right again. But when the dust settled, things didn't turn out the way Kato-san had hoped. Her daughter, feeling more confused and alienated than ever, ended up quitting her job altogether. The very place that should have been a source of growth and learning for her now felt like a battleground where she had no place. The young girl didn't know how to face the complexities of the situation, didn't know how to stand up for herself or process the criticism in a healthy way. She had been rescued from the immediate discomfort, but at the cost of learning how to navigate the world on her own. This story serves as a poignant reminder of the delicate balance parents must strike between providing support and allowing children to face their struggles. It's incredibly tempting to step in, to smooth the way, to cushion their falls, especially when we see them hurt or discouraged. But in doing so, we prevent them from developing the strength and confidence that come from overcoming difficulties. Life is not a straight path, and the bumps along the way are not obstacles to avoid, but rather vital lessons that shape who they become. Without these lessons, they will never learn how to stand tall in the face of adversity, how to recover from failure, or how to find their own voice in the world. When we intervene too much, we subtly communicate to our children that they are not capable, that they need us to fix things for them, that they cannot trust their own judgment or abilities. We may feel like we are showing love and care, but in reality, we are stunting their growth. The act of facing a challenge, of struggling through discomfort, of wrestling with a difficult situation and finding a way to overcome it, that's where true growth happens. Imagine the difference if Kato-san had approached the situation differently. What if, instead of immediately stepping in to fight her daughter's battle, she had taken a step back and said, "I know you're upset, and I understand why. But this is something you will need to work through. How can I support you in handling this?" Instead of solving the problem for her, Kato-san could have asked her daughter to reflect on what had happened, how she could approach the situation with maturity, and how she could turn this experience into a lesson. By doing this, Kato-san would have empowered her daughter to confront the issue head-on, to build her emotional resilience, and to learn the art of self-advocacy, skills that would serve her well throughout her life. As much as we want to protect our children from the harsh realities of life, we must also acknowledge that these struggles are not only inevitable, they are necessary. They teach our children the value of persistence, the importance of humility, and the profound strength that comes from knowing how to rise after falling. These are the lessons that will carry them forward, that will help them develop the fortitude to face the world with confidence and courage. The true role of a parent is not to solve every problem, to smooth over every wrinkle, or to shield our children from every disappointment. Our role is to teach them how to navigate the ups and downs of life with grace, how to manage the storms without becoming overwhelmed, and how to stand firm even when the ground beneath them shakes. Instead of providing instant solutions, we must offer guidance, showing them how to think critically, how to learn from mistakes, and how to trust their inner strength. If we continue to step in every time a problem arises, we deprive our children of the chance to experience the life-changing growth that only comes through struggle. Yes, it's painful to watch them face hardship, and yes, it's heartbreaking to see them suffer. But those moments of suffering are where they build character, where they grow stronger, where they learn to trust in themselves. By not solving their problems, we give them the freedom to rise above their challenges, to discover their own capacity for greatness. In the end, the greatest gift we can give our children is not a world free of struggle, but the tools and confidence to face the struggles that inevitably come. The best way to protect them is not by solving all their problems, but by teaching them how to solve their own. 5. Be an independent parent who isn't dependent on your children. There is a quiet strength that radiates from those who choose to live their later years with independence, and that strength commands respect. Independent parents are not only admired, they are revered, for they embody resilience, self-worth, and the profound dignity of living life on their own terms. These parents teach us that age does not diminish one's capacity for joy, growth, or self-discovery. It simply offers new ways to flourish. Take Yoshida-san, a woman in her 70s, whose life is a testament to the power of autonomy and fulfillment in the later stages of life. After her children went off to create families of their own, Yoshida-san faced what many would consider an emotional void, their absence, the gradual shift of her role from caregiver to observer. But instead of allowing herself to feel abandoned, she made a conscious choice to turn inward, to nourish herself, and to embrace a new chapter of personal growth. She found refuge and joy in pottery, a craft that became more than just a hobby. Each carefully sculpted piece she created became a symbol of her inner journey, a journey of healing, creativity, and the quiet confidence that comes from living life fully on one's own terms. Through this simple yet profound act of creation, Yoshida-san discovered that fulfillment doesn't come from clinging to the past or waiting for others to define your worth. It comes from within, from the decisions you make to build a life that is rich in meaning, purpose, and self-reliance. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. When her children visit, Yoshida-san offers them something far more valuable than advice or material help. She offers them the gift of her wisdom, an unspoken reminder that they are free to chart their own paths while she does the same. With a calm smile, she often says, "If you need anything, feel free to consult with me," not as a plea for attention, but as a gesture of loving availability. It's a quiet strength that doesn't demand, but instead stands proudly on its own. Her son, in turn, has expressed that seeing his mother living so joyfully and independently gives him a sense of peace. A peace that comes from knowing that his mother is not just surviving, but thriving. Her happiness is a gift to him, a a source of motivation and reassurance that life, no matter the age, can always be filled with purpose and possibility. She has shown him that he doesn't need to constantly worry about her or feel responsible for her well-being. Instead, her independence empowers him to pursue his own dreams, knowing that she is both supported and self-sufficient. As we age, the importance of maintaining our independence cannot be overstated. It's not about rejecting our children or pushing them away. It's about reclaiming the agency that should always be ours, no matter the stage of life. In old age, the greatest gift we can give ourselves, and our children, is the courage to live our own lives. This isn't a rejection of family or a sign of abandonment. On the contrary, it's an acknowledgement that we are individuals with our own hopes, passions, and goals. Just as we once raised our children to be independent, we, too, must continue to honor our own autonomy. We must recognize that our children, no matter how much they love us, are not our caretakers or our emotional support systems. They, too, have their own dreams to chase and lives to lead. By choosing to live independently, we offer our children a profound lesson in self-reliance and self-respect. We show them that we are not fragile or incapable, but strong and capable of creating a life that is meaningful for us, no matter the challenges. This independence doesn't isolate us. Rather, it opens the door to a relationship with our children that is built on mutual respect, admiration, and a deep understanding of each other's autonomy. We are not bound by obligation or duty, but by love that is free from the weight of expectation and dependence. In this way, we also empower our children to live their lives freely, without the guilt or pressure of feeling that they must constantly care for us. By embracing our independence, we encourage them to pursue their own paths with the same boldness and confidence we once had. We offer them the space to grow, to evolve, and to become the people they are meant to be, just as we did in our own time. True independence is not about shutting others out. It's about living in such a way that our worth is not tied to the expectations of others. It's about building a life where we are not a burden but a source of inspiration, a living example of how age does not define us, nor does it limit our ability to live a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and deep connections. When we choose independence, we don't just create a life for ourselves. We create a legacy of strength and love that will ripple through the generations. Our children, in turn, will cherish and respect us not for the sacrifices we made for them, but for the sacrifices we made for ourselves, to live a life that was ours to shape, a life lived with purpose, independence, and unwavering self-respect. As we reflect on the importance of living independently in our later years, it becomes clear that true freedom comes not just from the ability to make decisions for ourselves, but from having the courage to live a life rich with purpose, self-reliance, and personal growth. Yoshida-san's journey is a powerful reminder that age does not limit our capacity for joy, creativity, or connection. In fact, it gives us the space to thrive in ways we never imagined. So, what have you learned from this journey of independence? How can you embrace your own path with the same strength and dignity, just as Yoshida-san has? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below with one key takeaway that resonated with you the most, and how you plan to bring it into your own life. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, please take a moment to leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more stories and tips on living your best life, no matter your age. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts.